Hello, welcome to the 18th episode of Rachel Pilcher Writing Workshops Facebook Live. I'm Rachel Pilcher. Tonight's topic is why you should attend writers' events. So part of the reason why I chose this topic for this time of year is that I always think it's a good idea to kind of check in with what your goals are as a writer, and then see what you can do to help improve yourself. And one of the things that I have found is a surefire way to help improve your writing is to attend events that are being held for writers or being held by writers or being held about writers. So these types of events that I think are a good idea to think about in the new year. So start looking at your schedule, because that's coming up just in a couple weeks. And you can look at your schedule and try to figure out what you can fit in that would work with what you are willing to do to help with your writing. So the types of events that are out there are things like writers' conferences. So there are several different types of writers' conferences. There are some that are free. And if you're in the North Texas area, one of the big free writers' conferences that we have is WordFest. It's coming up in March. And WordFest, I'm not sure if you have to register for it, but I do know that there is, if you're on Facebook, which if you're watching this, you're probably on Facebook, you can look up WordFest, and it's capitals W-O-R-D, and then F, lowercase E-S-T, so WordFest. And that is held at Tarrant County College Northeast, I believe, in March. So that's one idea that you can have for a free conference that you can get information from. There are several others that you do have to pay for. They range in price between, like I attended one in Midland in October, which I think that they're doing it again this next October, that the early registration was $49. You can't beat that. Now you do have to go to Midland. And but you know, there's nothing wrong with going to Midland if you're going to a writers' conference. I got a lot out of the conference. There is also the DFW Writers Conference. It's always a good one. There are several other things you can do that if you're not in the North Texas area, you can go to Google or go to Facebook and just type in Writers Conference, and all kinds of ideas will pop up. But writers' conferences are really good. One of the things that I kind of look at whenever I'm going to a writers' conference, because I've been going to them for a very long time. I went to my first writers' conference. It was a screenwriting conference, so they do have specific genre and writing type conferences to look out for, so you can do that and try to figure out what you would want to do writing-wise. But I look at, one, the cost, because if I haven't attended a conference in a while, I'm willing to spend a little bit more money than had I just gone to one that cost me $400. So, but if I haven't gone to anything and there's a conference that's $400 and it's a reasonable price, and there are writers that are teaching the courses, because generally at writers' conferences you will have writers teaching the writing courses. So they talk about their best practices, and I look at who's doing the conference, and if there's a series of writers that are working a conference that I've already gone to several conferences for, I may or may not choose that conference. I'm kind of picky, because unless it's someone that I really kind of latch onto, and it's like, you know, I really like their ideas, I kind of have a mentorship with them, even though they might not know that they're mentoring me, but they're mentoring me through the writing process, that, you know, I will follow certain people to conferences. But if I notice that there are a handful of writers that are always teaching at the same time, you know, maybe I don't want to go to that one, because it may be that it's the same kind of information that I've had before. So just pay attention to who is teaching at the conferences and go from there. So the other thing that you would be interested in would be to do writing workshops. So there are a number of writing workshops that are out there, and you can, and writing workshops and classes, those words kind of get interchanged. I call a lot of the stuff that I do as a writer's workshop, because I think a class is usually about an hour long, whereas a workshop would be an extended time period. So my sessions, whenever I teach them, they're about 3 hours long. But workshops can be something that happens once a week for 6 weeks. They could be something that happen, one hit like mine, and it's, 3 hours. But you look at the type of workshop that you're looking for. A good idea would be to go and go to the Google again and Google writing workshops in your area. So if you're from Fort Worth, you can say writing workshops in Fort Worth. I know there's a writing workshops Dallas, so they have a lot of classes. If you go to the Writers League of Texas website, if you're in Texas, they have quite a few workshop offerings that they do in person and online. And as I've said at the end of the last Facebook Live that I did, I'm going to be moving into the online media. So I will be talking about that more at the end of this session. So writing workshops and classes, that will get you a more detailed idea of what you have going on in your writing and how you can get detailed help. Conferences, you don't get as much detail. It's more like a, here is everything you can possibly do, and then, take what you can of that. A workshop and a class is usually a little bit more personal for you. Writing sprints or meetups are always kind of a good place for writers to go. So for a writing sprint or meetup, what you'll do is you just kind of show up. I go to one that happens in Fort Worth every Friday night. It's called Shut Up and Write, and I love being able to go to that because it's not something that I'm even in charge of. I just go and I actually get to sit and write. And you do basic introductions at the beginning, and there's always, a thought-provoking question to get you started, and then you sit and write for an hour in silence. And it's always held at the Modern Art Museum in Fort Worth in the cafe there. And it's amazing how quickly that hour passes, but it's also quite amazing at how much writing you can get done whenever you're in an environment that is not your home or your office or anywhere that you are 100% used to writing all the time. So I find I get a whole lot done in that hour, also knowing that there is just an hour for it. So, definitely check those out. I found that group by going to meetup.com. So meetup.com is a great way of finding different writing groups. Go to writing happy hours. There actually are, I've gone to a couple of happy hours that were just, get together with creatives and just chat. So it's just get to know each other. Sometimes you can find somebody that has some of the same writing goals that you have, and maybe you can check in with each other to be able to, just get basic feedback. Not even to have them read your work, but you might find readers for your work. You never know. Might even be a way to find a critique group that you would be interested in being in. So another idea is signings. Go to book signings. It's always great to be around other writers, even if they're not really there to talk specifically about how to write, but you can always ask about the writing process, because at book signings they generally will have maybe a reading and a Q&A, or if you're going up and actually getting something signed, or if the writer's not that busy, if they're sitting at a table, you can go up and you can just chat with the writer about how they got their work done and how they got published, how they got into how they got their words in print. So I see Sharon just joined. Sharon's my stepmom. Hi, Sharon. So what you'll want to do is go to signings and get that information from that writer, and don't be overly aggressive or annoying. I know one of the things I like doing when I travel is I like to look around and see what bookstores or libraries might be offering a lecture or a signing. And even this last November, whenever I went to Paris, I went to a book signing at the American Library in Paris, and it was really cool. I very much enjoyed it. It was one of the most interesting things that I probably have done whenever I was traveling, and I didn't know very much about the author, but it was fun just to to get there and then kind of get that idea, that imagination of, oh, this is what it's like whenever you become bigger and you get everything in print. So, it was a good thing to do, and then you get to know people. Go to book launches. So a lot of this is you going somewhere. So it's finding those things. So book launches, they have book launches and signings everywhere. If there is a bookstore, you will find a book launch or a signing. And also, check out writers' retreats. Writers' retreats do require a little bit more extensive time because you end up usually going to some place and staying overnight or staying for several nights or staying for a week. But that most of the time with writers' retreats, there are other writers there, so you do get to have that camaraderie. So with all of that, different ideas of the types of writing events that are out there, what does attending a writing event do for the writer? And I've kind of touched on this a little bit, but attending writing events, you end up getting instruction information, so ideas about what works the best for the particular type of writing that you're doing, or even how important it is to turn in a clean draft to an editor. It gives encouragement, so it will offer you the opportunity to be around people who are very excited about the fact that you're a writer and that you came out to attend their event and to talk to them about writing. It gives you a starting point. There are some people that really want to be writers, and you may be one of them, but you don't quite know where to start. And a lot of times going to writers events, it'll give you that boost to get over that hurdle that is keeping you from being able to get your writing done. Another thing that it does is it does provide you connections with agents and publishers. At almost every writing event, especially at conferences, and sometimes at happy hours and things like that, there will be a publisher or several agents that are there that may be interested in your work. And if you have at least a completed first draft, then you're more than likely to be able to get something in the hands of an agent if you go to an event to talk to them. So I know in let me try to think. I don't remember which group it is, but in June or July, they have an Agents and Writers Conference. I think it's the Writing League of Texas. I keep going back to that one, but I think that's what it is. And you can, and you meet with agents and publishers. So, that's a good way to find out more about your craft, to find out what agents and publishers are actually looking for. So that's the best thing to do, and they can actually lead you in the right direction. Some of them will even listen to the synopsis of your story and tell you, well, that might work, but it sounds an awful lot like this other thing that is being published next month. So, and that could be a good thing. How many vampire books came out after Twilight? Thousands of them, it seemed like. So it can be a good thing to have something that is similar to something else that's out. But just know that writing styles, writing genres are cyclical, which means they could have all these vampire books out right now, but by the time you finish your book about vampires, they may be on to zombies, or they may be on to ghosts or witches or something completely different. So just be prepared for that. Continuing on, it provides you going to a writer's event provides you with a venue to talk to other writers. So sometimes it's good just to talk to other writers about your frustrations, because writers all have some of the same frustrations, and it's good to be able to get some ideas of how to work through those frustrations and to be able to get ideas of how to deal with your frustrations, especially if you're having a writer's block moment, or if you're just trying to get through one particular idea that you're writing and you just can't quite get there. So it will also get you into the writing world. There's something to being around writers and being around publishers and being around agents and being around other creative people that just inherently makes you a more creative person. So getting out into the writing world, getting out and being around other creatives, it will spur you on to get your work done, to get your creativity moving in the right direction. So, just going to writing events can do that for you. It's pretty amazing. And then finally, it gets you connected with other creatives besides writers. So I know yesterday I had 2 Christmas parties that I attended. The first one was of a journalist writer friend of mine, and I went to that party and I met with a bunch of people that some of them I had already known from previous years of attending this writer's party, but there's other people that are there. There's the directors of museums, other artists like making visual arts, politicians. There's all kinds of types of people that you get to meet whenever you start hanging around with other writers. And it leads you into a different direction where, those types of people, whenever you are around creatives of any type, they tend to encourage you to continue to be creative and perhaps give you some ideas of what you can write about. So, the best way to find these things, this is going to be a long Facebook Live tonight. And it's not that I don't usually prepare for them, but I just had a lot to say about this. So, the best way to find them, you can do online searches. So you can Google writers' conferences or writing workshops, or and put your city and state in there and see what it pops up. It may end up having something that comes up that is maybe within your state, but it could be across your state. And I don't know about you, but if you're not in Texas, sometimes whenever you're like, oh, there are 25 writing conferences that are in Texas, 4 of them are in far west Texas. It takes 5 hours to get there. 6 of them may be in Austin, because that's generally how it gets. And Austin's pretty central, but depending on where you are, it could take a couple hours to get there. So, but if you're in a smaller state, it might not take that long. Who knows? But Google it and see what you can find out, because a lot of times it is worth it to do that traveling. Go on, as I said earlier, to meetup.com and search writing and your area, and you should be able to find something that will be within your area. And a lot of times on Meetup, they have critique groups. They have the writing sprints. I found Shut Up and Write just through Meetup, and whenever I got there, I actually realized that I knew somebody that was part of it, so it worked out really well. You can do in-person visits or check on library websites. So a lot of times libraries will post their calendar on the website, so you can see if they have any writing groups that are meeting there. And if they don't, then that's a perfect opportunity for you to go and talk to the librarian and see what you can do about starting a writing group that meets at the library. So it could work in your favor, even if they don't have it. Definitely check local bookstores, and also, check libraries, but check all kinds of different locations where they might end up doing book signings or book launches or writing events, because they will be able to help you, because they love having those different events in their stores, because they like the business that it brings in. They really hope that they make a sale. And if you check in with them and you're like, hey, I'm interested in this, what do you have going on? If they don't have anything, if they're not being very productive about getting that out there, they may take your interest as being something that they can use to create a better marketing strategy to get people into their stores. So, I think there are many other ways that you can find out about writing events. You can go on Facebook and look up writing events. I know I'd mentioned that already. If you know of other writers, I would strongly encourage, because I can tell you one of the ways that a lot of writers make money is they teach at writing conferences or they teach workshops, or they teach their writing. That is probably one of the #1 ways that they make money off of writing, besides actually writing. So, just follow other writers on Facebook or on Twitter or on Instagram and see what they're doing and see where they're going, and get a good idea of if that's something that you would be able to go to. So that is the rundown on why you should attend writers' events, because writers' events are just something that is professional development for the writer. It's something that is always good to do for your career. If you plan on making a career out of writing, or you want to just see if it's something that you want to do, you need to go to a writer's event. So with that being said, this is promotion time. I finalized everything for my Write Fearlessly in the New Year online class. It's going to be Saturday, January the 19th, 2019, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. I'm going to be teaching it through Zoom, and you can find more information on the Rachel Pilcher Writing Workshops website. I also have a event page created on the Rachel Pilcher Writing Workshops Facebook page, so go ahead and check that out. And I will continue to be talking to you about that workshop and as the time comes to get things going for it. So definitely check that out. I hope to see you online at my workshop. So the next episode is going to be our last one for 2018. It's going to be episode 19 on December the 30th. Now I'm really excited. It's going to be right before New Year, literally right before New Year. And what we're going to be discussing is writing goals in the new year. So I hope to see you on the 30th. And if not, you will always be able to see the Facebook Live events that I have on replay right here on Facebook or on the YouTube channel. So thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. And if you celebrate Christmas, I hope you have a wonderful Christmas next week. Bye.